For all its beauty and splendor, the wilderness can be a cruel teacher. Embarking on a thru-hiking journey is not merely a stroll through the woods. It's a courageous odyssey that challenges your limits, tests your resilience, and rewards you with an unparalleled sense of accomplishment. While thru-hiking can be an exhilarating and rewarding adventure, it is crucial to acknowledge the harsh realities and potential dangers associated with this challenging activity. Ignoring or underestimating these risks can lead to serious consequences. Please click the subscribe and like buttons. This is Outdoor Disasters. The Continental Divide Trail, a serpentine ribbon spanning the spine of North America, is not just a physical trail, but a pilgrimage through the breathtaking beauty in the heart of the United States. The CDT unveils a majestic panorama of mountain ranges that stretch to the horizon, with their snow-capped crowns glistening in the sunlight, painting a masterpiece of grandeur and beauty. This trail ventures into some of the most remote and isolated regions of North America. Nature's ever-changing climates are on full display when embarking on this journey. As you ascend to higher elevations, the air thins and altitude-related challenges may arise. The CDT presents a mosaic of landscapes, making navigation a challenge. Trails may fade and markers may be scarce, requiring a keen sense of direction, map-reading skills, and an adventurous spirit willing to explore the unknown. The CDT spans approximately 3,100 miles or 4,988 kilometers from the border of Mexico in New Mexico to the Canadian border in Glacier National Park, Montana. The trail follows the Continental Divide of the Americas, which separates watersheds that drain into the Pacific Ocean from those that drain into the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. The trail traverses through a diverse range of ecosystems and landscapes, including deserts, mountains, forests, and alpine tundra. Hikers experience a wide array of environments and climates along the journey. The trail consists of a combination of well-defined paths, dirt roads, and cross-country travel. Unlike some other long-distance trails, the CDT is less developed, and sections may not be as clearly marked or maintained, requiring navigational skills. Thru-hiking involves completing the entire trail in one continuous journey. Some hikers choose to section hike, completing portions of the trail over time. Embarking on the Continental Divide Trail is an invitation to witness the beauty that nature unveils and to confront the challenges that make this journey not just an adventure, but a rite of passage. For Stephen Olshansky, his CDT odyssey would be a disaster. Born in 1956 and raised in New Rochelle, New York, Stephen Olshansky, also known as Otter, developed a deep affinity for the outdoors amidst the woods surrounding his childhood home. His initial exposure to hiking occurred at the age of 7 during summer camp in New Hampshire, where the Appalachian Trail passed by the camp. Over 7 consecutive summers, he progressively conquered longer sections of the trail. His trail name, Otter, was reportedly bestowed upon him by Native Americans during a visit to Arizona. Despite his intelligence, high school failed to captivate Otter, leading him to frequently skip classes to indulge in movies or golf. However, his true passion lay in America's longest trails. In his early 20s, Olshansky completed his first thru-hike of the Appalachian Trail, establishing a pattern of spending summers hiking and working as a golf pro in Florida during winters, with his tent serving as the primary fixture in his bedroom. Over the years, he became a prominent member of the growing thru-hiking community, completing various long-distance trails. By 2014, the Continental Divide Trail had captured Stephen's heart. Although only 70% complete, he embraced the challenges, stringing together sections using game trails and logging roads in what he considered the Wild West of thru-hiking. Otter achieved the rare triple crown by hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, the Appalachian Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail multiple times. Despite acknowledging the dangers and recounting numerous near-death incidents in his blog, The Otter Diaries, Otter seemed to embrace the risks. He advocated for keeping the CDT free of water caches. Now someone will yell at me for this, but personally, I don't want the CDT to turn into the PCT waterwise with people caching water for hikers all over the place thinking it helps them. It doesn't. It stymies their growth and takes away from the trail experience. I don't care if the trail is hard or even if there is no trail, he wrote in one trail journal. Otter's passion for the untamed wilderness and his daring approach to thru-hiking left an indelible mark on his journey and the trails he traversed. In the close-knit world of the CDT community, Otter crossed paths with Teresa Martinez, the executive director and co-founder of the Continental Divide Trail Coalition, at Pie Town's Pioneer Diner during his northbound hike in 2014. Otter extensively discussed water access and the politics surrounding the CDT in his 2014 Northbound Journal, expressing his belief that offering water to hikers artificially maintains the trail's popularity, leading to increased donations for affiliated organizations. He was skeptical, stating, "Money corrupts everything, even the trail." In March 2015, Otter planned an extensive backpacking journey along the California coast, heading east through Oregon to Idaho, where he heard of a proposed trail around the state's edge. Olshansky was an ultralight hiker, which is a minimalist approach to backpacking and hiking that focuses on reducing the overall weight of one's gear and equipment. The philosophy behind ultralight hiking is to prioritize simplicity, efficiency, and comfort while minimizing the physical strain of carrying a heavy backpack. The goal is to enjoy the outdoors with a lighter load, allowing for increased mobility and a more enjoyable hiking experience. Otter planned to follow the southern border to Montana. Along the way, he joined up with a group of hikers who were hiking a portion of the CDT. Within a few weeks of traveling together, Otter had outdistanced them. He made such good mileage that he decided he might as well keep heading south and hike the Continental Divide once again. It was August around this time he made this decision, a very late time to hike this trail CDT toward New Mexico, well aware of the potentially lonely journey. Anticipating the solitary stretch in New Mexico, Otter prepared with a 2-week food supply, a tent, a stove, and a handsaw. He arranged for a supply package at Ghost Ranch near Abiquiu, a common practice among thru-hikers on the CDT. Otter hiked through alpine Colorado in the fall of 2015, well into autumn, risking encounters with winter storms. The first sheets of snow in southern Colorado's San Juan Range slowed his progress, but did not halt it. By late October, as fall edged toward winter, Otter took extended breaks, resting with friends in Mancos and Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Before resuming the CDT, he contacted hiking buddy Doug Robinson, requesting a tent equipped with a titanium wood stove for cooler weather. Doug sent the stove, and Otter tested it in Chama, New Mexico, camping in the snowy backyard of friends and trail angels Ben and Jill Whitting. He planned his journey through the rimrock country of New Mexico, a section of the CDT characterized by high elevation, starting at the 10,000-foot or 3,000-meter Cumbres Pass and reaching over 11,000 feet or 3,300 meters. The landscape, though appearing deceptively flat at times, alternated between heavily wooded areas, open spaces, and gently rolling terrain, before abruptly dropping over ledges, which Stephen was very familiar with. Otter was eager to begin his trek, as he had a commitment as a golf pro awaiting him. He declined Ben Whitting's offer to use a map. On November 14, 2015, Otter was dropped off at Cumbres Pass by Whitting on a clear 50-degree or 10-degree Celsius day. Whitting requested Otter to call when he reached Ghost Ranch, 75 miles south. Carrying a substantial 2-week food supply, Otter set off down the trail. Unfortunately, Whitting would never receive that anticipated call. Upon departing Cumbres Pass and entering the Carson National Forest that November, Otter realized he was in trouble. Chronicling his struggles in the journal he maintained throughout the ordeal, he noted, "I immediately began to suffer from terrible weakness, feeling faint every time I stood up." The flu, possibly contracted during his stay with the Whittings, exacerbated his predicament. Despite recovering from the illness, Otter was in a dire situation as an impending storm loomed over the area. In his journal entry, he described the challenging conditions. "The snow was waist-deep in places. I found a small spot of ground, pitched my shelter, and the snowfall continued, accumulating well over a foot by late Tuesday." This early and substantial snowfall was reported to be the earliest in the region in quite some time. Although the storm eventually passed, the aftermath brought plummeting temperatures with highs barely reaching the 20s, far from sufficient to melt the snow. Attempting to hike back on Wednesday, Otter realized the severity of his situation. After managing only a mile of the 12-mile trek, he decided to turn back to his campsite, barely making it. Struggling with illness, snowbound, and without his spot emergency messaging device, Otter resorted to his phone, which he used for mapping and occasional calls when he had service. He recorded a video capturing the challenging circumstances he was facing in the unforgiving wilderness.
I'm in big trouble. I'm snowbound. I tried hiking out yesterday. It's about 10 to 12 miles back to the road, and I can't make it. At least at this time, I cannot make it. Between the deep, crotch-deep snow and the altitude, I could not keep my toes warm either. It was all I could do to get the mile and a half back. I tried to hike out yesterday. Get the mile and a half back here to where I camped on Sunday night. Let me just say up front, I made a huge mistake. I should have turned back or never come out here this time of year. I really rolled the dice and I lost. Now there's one guy, I got food. I got a little bit of food. I got my heated tent with my saw. And I'm doing everything I can here to figure a way out of here. I'm hoping someone snowmobiles by. Now I am on the trail. I'm on the CDT in two ways. Here's the trail CDT right here, and here's the alternate CDT road coming right down here. That's Road 87. It goes down to Lagunitas Campground. And I was thinking maybe I would go down there, but if I pitched in the campground somewhere, getting wood would be hard. I have a lot of wood around here, and that's key. Easy wood, so I don't have to go far in the deep snow. I don't know if I'm going to hike out or wait. Now, there's one guy, Ben Witten. I stayed at his house in Chama. He's the only guy who really knows where I am. And when I walked out the door, he said, Otter, you got 10 days. 10 days. If I don't hear from you, we're going to come looking for you. And he better be a man of his word. If he doesn't do that, I am absolutely toast. So now then my other friends, it would take weeks for them to send out the troops. So I need a miracle right now. I f***ed this up 8 ways to Sunday, and I'm paying the price.
Otter had in his possession an ultralight down jacket, a fleece pullover, and long underwear. All typical gear choices for thru-hikers designed for warmth while maintaining a lightweight profile. Following the customary practice of thru-hikers, these clothing items provided sufficient warmth only when he maintained a brisk pace. For colder nights, he had a -20-degree sleeping bag. Despite the challenging conditions, Otter opted for running shoes, a choice that would later compound the difficulties. By his 6th day, November 19th, frostbite had set in on his toes, adding to the multitude of challenges. As Thanksgiving approached, winter had firmly settled along the divide, leaving Otter stranded in his tent. Subsequently, a fierce storm blew in, lasting a full week. During this time, Otter attempted to signal for help by building snowshoes, crafting a large help message in the snow and anticipating an aerial rescue. Disheartened by the absence of assistance, he reflected on the disappointment of the passing days without any sign of snowmobiles or planes. Otter endured this isolation for 17 days until December 1st. Facing the harsh reality of an extended wait for rescue, Otter confronted a pivotal decision he deemed the biggest of my life. 3 options lay before him: remain in place and hope for rescue, head east or west with makeshift snowshoes unlikely to endure the famed light powder of the divide, or venture south towards lower elevations with potentially less snow. Recalling a campground, Lagunitas, 3 miles to the south, Otter, fueled by the prospect of shelter, packed up his tent and pressed onward to the campground. Summoning tremendous courage, he trekked a mere 200 yards before succumbing to total exhaustion in the waist-deep snow. Glancing back at the place he had spent 17 days, a safe but confining haven, He took a few steps and then bent over, a cycle that persisted throughout the day. On the verge of despair, contemplating sleeping in the snow, he glanced to his left and spotted the campground bathroom at Lagunitas. Determined, he squeezed inside the icebox-like structure, shivering, and sought refuge in his sleeping bag, warming up with the wood stove for a hot drink. Otter was now stranded and at the mercy of an act of God for warming weather, a passing snowmobiler, or an aerial rescue. The initial inkling of worry regarding Otter's whereabouts surfaced from Ben Whitting. On November 29th, he logged onto CDT-15, a Thru-Hiker Facebook page, expressing concern. "Anybody hear from Otter in the last week or so?" This raised alarms within Otter's circle of friends and the broader CDT community. Lynn Udick and Art Rohr, Otter's friends, rushed to Mancos, New Mexico, to look for Olshansky. Aware that Otter possessed a Spot, a satellite device, they hesitated to involve search and rescue, but eventually decided to contact Bob Rogers, head of search and rescue for the New Mexico State Police in Albuquerque. Rogers, having no information about Otter, immediately mobilized state police officers. Patrolwoman Jolene Jones interviewed the head of the Chama Visitor Center, discovering Otter's stay with the Whittings and his intended destination of Ghost Ranch. Upon calling Ghost Ranch, she learned that a care package for Otter had arrived in early November but had been opened due to rotting food. Rogers visited Ghost Ranch, confirming Otter's absence. In Chama, Jones spoke with Whitting, the last person to see Otter, who revealed Otter's plan to deviate from the trail during his southward hike. Otter's personal Facebook page and the CDT Hikers group page buzzed with updates, leading to the announcement of an aerial search scheduled for December 10th. Despite facing challenging conditions with 40-mile-per-hour winds and below freezing temperatures, 3 Cessnas from the Civil Air Patrol covered over 300 square miles of the Carson National Forest. Lagunitas Campground on the northern fringe of the search area presented visibility challenges due to the wild and varied terrain. Several sightings were reported in multiple towns in New Mexico, including a man resembling Otter walking near Quemado, interacting with a convenience store worker in Cuba, and potentially seeking a meal at a Hooters in an Arizona border town. On New Year's Eve day in 2016, a man resembling Otter wearing a 49ers pullover drew attention at a McDonald's in the area. However, a subsequent investigation by the state police revealed that it wasn't Otter despite similarities in appearance and attire. Friends and authorities were striking out in their search for Otter, with many assuming his death in the vast wilderness of the Continental Divide Trail. As of December 10th, 2015, Otter found himself trapped for 27 days, taking refuge in a bathroom within the Lagunitas campground. Dismissing hope of rescue, he resolved to attempt an escape using skis, despite not having skied since his childhood attempts on groomed slopes. Expressing his surrender to rescue efforts, he wrote, "Built a pair of skis to hold me up off the snow. Determined, I skied out to a cloudy sky." Otter ingeniously crafted his skis from sheet metal, likely salvaged from a shed's roof that he had burned down in a desperate bid for attention. Using 2 long metal strips and twisted baling wire for bindings, he embarked on his skiing venture without specifying his destination in his journal. Although he likely headed east from Lagunitas on Forest Road 87, where the plateau gives way to a downward slope leading 27 miles away to Highway 285, it remains unclear if Otter was aware of these details. Each hill and hollow posed a formidable challenge, particularly for a novice skier like him. Amidst a challenging descent, Otter encountered a significant fall, entangling himself with his razor-sharp makeshift skis. After a strenuous effort to rise in the deep snow, he faced a sudden glimmer of hope. "As I was at the end of the entrance road, along comes a search and rescue plane directly above me, and I was out in the open," Otter recounted. The aircraft flew over the campground, potentially spotting the burned-down structure from his previous attempt to attract attention. A few minutes later, they circled back. Otter seized the opportunity, wildly waving at them, hoping they had seen him in the open. In the midst of these efforts, he remained committed to his plan, believing in the chance they may have spotted him. Despite challenging conditions, including dry and light powder from early storms and the instability of his homemade bindings, Otter covered a few miles on skis. Collapsing in the snow, he made camp in the deep snow. With strong winds swirling around him, he endured a sleepless night. Recognizing the severity of the situation, he made the difficult decision to ski back, realizing that survival would be impossible in those treacherous conditions. Returning to the campground restroom, Otter found solace in a 6x6-foot or 2x2-meter cement block structure with a vault toilet tucked in one corner. The wood shelter, now torched, not only provided material for his improvised skis, but also revealed a hidden stash of food, several dozen pounds of horse feed. Cracking oats on the cement floor of the latrine with a stone, he managed to cook oatmeal. Anchored by the hope of the plane's return, he stayed put, consumed the available food, and anxiously awaited rescue. Expressing his uncertainty, he shared, "My gut says they didn't see me. If they don't show up, I'm doomed." There's been a day between with snow and wind where they couldn't get in. Snowed last night. Hoping for clearing. Hoping. Come on, rescuers, this is the most agonizing day. It's all come down to this. Unbeknownst to Otter, a false sighting had diverted attention away from northern New Mexico on December 10th. The same day, the search planes conducted their search pattern. Unaware that he might have been abandoned, Otter's growing concern intensified as days passed without any signs of the searchers. Feeling powerless and contemplating giving up, he revisited his lifelong mantra of hike your own hike, preparing to die on his own terms. He matter-of-factly mentioned, "My intention is to bring the stove inside later and asphyxiate myself. Probably won't work. Nothing else I've tried has. I'm completely at peace with it, as it's so much better than the alternative." Intent on cherishing his last day, he focused on enjoying the remaining food, staying warm, and reflecting on the beauty and positive aspects of his life, especially his friends. He meticulously listed them in his journal, bidding a personal farewell to each. Despite his solemn preparations, Otter's attempt to asphyxiate himself by lighting the stove proved futile. The latrine's lack of airtightness, coupled with gale-force winds, ensured a constant stream of air, thwarting his desperate measure. Stephen wrote, December 17th, clear but frigid. I'm still here and fighting. Gonna try to melt water by body heat. Actually, don't feel too bad. Have to stay in sleeping bag all day, eating one oat at a time. Don't want to waste any. Must have about 20 pounds left. Wonder how long I'll last. The snow persisted, falling gradually, layer by layer, enveloping the bathroom in its icy grasp. In the biting cold between storms, temperatures plummeted below zero. Otter, finding it time-consuming to reacquire warmth once he left his sleeping bag, opted to stay bundled inside. His thoughts often strayed to food, daydreaming incessantly about pizza, though his meager supply of oats remained his only sustenance. Confronted with the harsh reality of his circumstances, he contemplated human endurance in these conditions, pondering, how long can a human last in these conditions? I once heard 3 to 5 days without water and a month without food. But what if 3 meals a day of horse oats, dunno? Having spent over a month at the campground and missing for 6 weeks, Otter found himself confined within the cinder block bathroom, sleeping diagonally on the chilly cement floor. The steel door provided a modicum of luxury compared to a flimsy tent flap during blizzards. Otter, resilient in prolonging his survival, wrestled with the challenge of keeping his toes warm to avoid the painful hours required to warm them up once cold. With his dwindling chances of survival, Otter turned his gaze to the 2 lakes beyond the outhouse, envisioning sustenance in the form of fish and fresh water beneath the ice. Determined to try, he saved wood to burn a hole in the ice, fashioning makeshift hooks from a fishing line. Although weakened, he harbored hopes of getting protein to fuel a potential return to Cumbres Pass on skis. Yet even the task of collecting wood became insurmountable, and the lakes remained elusive under layers of snow. As January unfolded, bringing more storms, Otter faced challenges with a snow accumulation that reached the doorway. His journal reflected a roller coaster of emotions, oscillating between moments of optimism and deep despair. In a particularly low point, he wrote, "Biggest storm yet, dumped more than a foot so far, big winds." He journaled through the day, sounding upbeat at some points and despondent at others. "My life is over," he wrote. Contemplating another desperate measure, he used a saw on his left wrist, releasing a flow of blood. Despite losing a considerable amount, the wound eventually clotted and Otter endured a shivering night. The following morning, he sewed up his wrist. Weeks passed in his destitution, with Otter documenting his struggles into February. "No opportunity to change things, very sad," he wrote. By his account, he still had food into February. Gonna try to keep up with the water for a few days, but I know I can't. Although snow surrounded him, he was too weak to stand, let alone venture out to gather snow. So he lay there, almost motionless, as the snow continued to pile up around him. In his final days, perhaps hours, he began summing up his life in his journal. I never ever fit in, not from 4 years old till now. Nowhere, except maybe the hiking community. On April 7th, 2016, Ian Dirtwolf Crombie embarked on a northbound journey from the Mexican border along the CDT. The New Mexico desert greeted him with scorching heat and aridity. Recalling the day, Crombie highlights the scenic views and a moment of trail angel generosity providing much-needed water. A seasoned hiker with a completed Pacific Crest Trail under his belt, Crombie's trek unfolded over 6 months since Otter departed from Chama. On May 10th, Crombie, rising before dawn, navigated through crusted snow on his way to Lagunitas campground. Despite being just 2,000 feet or 600 meters above sea level and 30 miles or 48 kilometers south of Lagunitas, he encountered unexpected snow, trudging through slush with a nonchalant attitude towards wet feet. The road leading to Lower Lagunitas campground presented challenges with deep and unstable snow. Post-holing, sinking up to his chest in certain areas, Crombie pressed on, eager for the comforts of the U.S. Forest Service campground after days of backcountry roughing it. Approaching the campground, he observed remnants of a tattered tarp and the scorched remains of a campfire, initially thinking nothing of it. However, his attention was drawn to a pair of handmade skis leaning near the restroom door. Crafted from corrugated roofing tin with carefully cut footrests and straps of twisted baling wire, these skis were the first ominous signs that something tragic had occurred. The front porch of the bathroom bore traces of dried dust and scattered pine needles from snowmelt, prompting Crombie to speculate about their origin from the previous year. His sense of dread heightened as he approached the bathroom door, finding the word "warning" etched into the paint. A faded paper note attached to the door delivered a chilling message. There is a dead human body inside bathroom locked in. It is that of Stephen Olshansky, aka the Otter. Please notify authorities immediately, no joke, thank you. Crombie left immediately, heading for Chama. Crombie had seen flyers with Otter's face the whole way north, in every trail town. He tried the restroom door and found it locked. He raced to deliver the news. My first instinct was that I need to tell someone. This is Otter. I kept post-holing, I kept walking. It was wet, boggy sort of stuff, and I kept losing the trail. A few days later, he reached Chama and alerted the state police. The authorities now had the grim assignment of recovering Stephen Olshansky. Spring in the mountains transforms into a desolate expanse. Snowmobiles lie dormant in yards, and swollen creeks impede fishing endeavors. Fallen trees obstruct paths beneath lingering snowdrifts. A police report recounts an officer's futile attempt to reach a camp area, thwarted by substantial snowdrifts. Seeking reinforcements, the officer, accompanied by more officers, criminal investigators, and a Forest Service ranger, utilized ATVs and side-by-sides to navigate the deep snow, eventually post-holing their way to Lagunitas. There, they managed to pry open the restroom door. Inside, Otter's remains were discovered in a severely decomposed state. Clad in a blue sleeping bag, he had ingeniously fashioned a wood stove from tin, complete with a handmade stovepipe. Plastic bags contained his personal effects, including a cell phone, driver's license, and $22 in cash. Otter had meticulously arranged his last will and testament, urging the authorities to take possession of all written documents. I should have turned back that first day. I have no way of staying on top of the snow, Olshansky lamented in his writings. The condition of the restroom, the immediate surroundings, and the state of the body indicated that Mr. Olshansky had spent a significant amount of time in that location. The exact date of his demise remains unknown, but searchers uncovered writings dated well into January, with a particular entry from January 18th found at the scene. Struggling without a means to track the passing days, he expressed regret for consuming marijuana before embarking on his final hike. Weakening with each passing day, he grappled with the snow, fearing the onset of frostbite. I was too high to think straight, learned a lesson, but will never be able to do anything because I'm doomed here, too late, he wrote. On the afternoon of May 15th, on the same route where he attempted to ski towards Highway 285, his remains were transported to the Espanola mortuary and subsequently cremated. Stephen Otter Olshansky sadly endured a solitary death, succumbing to freezing temperatures and starvation after being stranded in treacherous snow for months, desperately yearning for rescue. Well regarded within the long-distance hiking community, Otter's tragic experience imparts crucial lessons about the perils of the trail. Despite possessing the skills and expertise, unfortunate decisions played a role in his fate. In the ensuing weeks, Otter's trail companions congregated in New Mexico and, as per his wish, threw a celebration. On June 2, 2016, his family and long-standing friends gathered in the eastern part of the country, where the Appalachian Trail crests Mount Greylock in Massachusetts, holding a somber memorial for Otter. His self-proclaimed last will, discovered affixed to a railing in the restroom, was given to Otter's brother, Neil, who transcribed its contents. Reflecting on his brother's passion, Neil remarked, "He loved that time when he was out there by himself, and the world was beautiful." Neil continued, "There aren't 5 people in the world who are hikers like he was, other than Leatherman, who wandered around in the 19th century. He measured his miles in the tens of thousands." While thru-hiking can be an exhilarating and transformative experience, it's crucial to acknowledge the harsh realities and potential dangers associated with this challenging endeavor. Embarking on a thru-hike comes with inherent risks that demand respect and careful consideration. Thru-hiking subjects your body to relentless stress and strain. Pushing your body to its limits day after day increases the likelihood of chronic pain and long-term physical damage. Nature is unpredictable, and thru-hikers are exposed to a variety of environmental hazards, such as extreme weather conditions, wildlife encounters, and natural disasters. Being ill-prepared for sudden changes in weather or unanticipated challenges can escalate into life-threatening situations. Being snowbound can present significant challenges, but with the right knowledge and preparation, you can increase your chances of survival. Seek shelter immediately. Either your tent, a makeshift shelter such as a snow cave, or a structure made from tree branches. Signal aircraft or rescuers with reflective items, or create contrast against the snow, such as large SOS symbols. Insulate yourself from the cold ground. Use a sleeping pad, blankets, or clothing to create a barrier. Wear multiple layers of clothing to trap heat close to your body. If possible, start a fire. Ensure proper ventilation and use it for warmth. Bring a portable stove if you have one. Move only when necessary to conserve energy. Physical activity can increase your body's heat production, but it also burns valuable calories. Avoid sweating, as wet clothing can increase heat loss. Drink water regularly to stay hydrated, even in cold conditions. Dehydration can occur in cold environments as well. Avoid consuming snow directly, as it can lower your body temperature. Melt it first if possible. Conserve your food supplies, eating small amounts regularly. If you're in a vehicle, stay with it. It provides shelter and makes you more visible to rescuers. Remember, preparation is key to surviving in a snowbound situation. Always inform someone about your travel plans and expected return time, so help can be summoned if needed. Important tips so you make it through an outdoor disaster. Thank you for watching. Want more outdoor disaster content? Check out these stories I believe you'll enjoy.